All right, welcome back. We have today Mr. Chris Boergert. How we doing, Chris?
Quite well, Mr. Havlik. How are you?
Great, man. How was the holidays, the Christmas and the New Year's fantasticals?
It was all good, other than a nice $3,000 repair bill on my truck right before Christmas. But you'll have that shit happen.
Yeah, which isn't fixed, right? You told me
No, it's at the dealership right now as we speak. They say it might be the control valve or the control vacuum control solenoid at this point, which is like a $60 parts of the $3,000 worth of stuff that they did.
Yeah, Jake.
So
He has a new Ram he bought like earlier, like a couple months ago or 5 months ago or something, and he had like deaf things come up or whatever, and he took it to the dealer, and like it seems like nobody knows what they're doing with the dealers anymore because they're like, oh,
no,
we're gonna do this and this, and he took it and let him, under warranty, and they didn't fix it, and he took it back, and he was like, look, this is what you need to do. Like I looked it up, and they're like, we got to go through this procedure, and he got mad, went home, pulled the like def and injector nozzle, cleaned it
yeah,
because it was dirty, and put it back in. It was fixed.
yeah,
It's like nobody knows what they're doing, but they still want to charge like what? What is the labor rate? 160 an hour now?
175 to 225.
Ooh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Anyways, on to brighter and more interesting things. Um, yeah, so we're gonna do this coach's interview, and like I said, all the time, we always start out with, just how you got into riding motorcycles, like what led up to that. I mean, what age did you start riding bikes, and what got you interested in them?
Uh, so I wanted to ride bikes when I was younger, but that was a big no-no with my dad because his brother got like jacked up in an accident and wore a body cast for a while and all that stuff. So
Really, like a full
yeah,
body cast, like the
he
movie
broke
stuff?
he broke both of his hips, hit some gravel, and yeah, he was laid up for a while. So my dad was like, no, other than like we could ride the neighbor's moped up and down, and that was fun.
Yeah.
And then in high school and whatnot, I'd get on my buddy's dirt bike and all that kind of crap and rip around on that. But no, I didn't get a bike till I was 35.
Ah.
And my one buddy bought a motorcycle, and he's like, "Hey, you should go buy one." And I was like, "Well, whatever, why not?" Just had a kid, good idea, go buy a motorcycle. And I bought a little Honda CBR 250R, little Repsol edition. I paid like $2,200 for the thing.
Yeah, I think I
I mean,
remember. I remember you on that up at Nelson.
it was. I mean, I thought I was the coolest person in the whole world with this little thumper with a Leo Vinci exhaust, and
We all do.
sounded obnoxious, but I missed that little thing. And then like I put like Olin suspension on it on something that like I spent $2,000 on, and it was it was fun. But going down the back straight and it was tucked. You're doing like 92 miles an hour was a little obnoxious. I think it made like a total of like 28 horsepower, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So that's what I started with, and then I got bored obviously pretty quick. And then I went out and bought a Triumph Street Triple RS, like, I don't know, maybe 2 months later.
Two
And that was
months
a
out.
whole different ball game.
Yeah, yeah, tad bit. That's a
Yeah.
I don't know,
28
maybe
horse to 120 horse.
28 horse was the 250.
Yeah. And then
Jesus.
to 120. And I remember getting on like Brook Park Road after I picked the bike up, and I was like, holy shit, this thing's a completely different bike than what I was used to.
Yeah.
And then it started to pour rain as well. So, noob rider, new bike with way more power. It was quite exciting.
So, when you got your first bike, how long was it until you started riding at the track, and what got you there?
So my buddy Chris and I were riding. He lived in Garrettsville, and we were riding down whatever road the track's off of, and we saw a track day going on up there, or people riding motorcycles. So we pulled in, checked it out, and I was like, "Dude, I want to do that." And we drove up, talked to some of the coaches up there, um, and I think we signed up. I mean, I started down the track probably within 6 months of buying a bike. And then it just all snowballed to what it is today.
Yeah. So that would have been with Lean, or was that with
Yeah, it was lean when I
okay?
started. Yeah, Cam was the guy
That was
running it.
probably the last year Lean was there, or was it like 2 years
I
you
think
did?
there was one more season after that.
Okay. Um, So you had the Triumph, or so you rode the 250 at the track. Did you ride the Triumph at the track too?
So I started on the Triumph at the track, and like everybody's like, "Oh, you don't want to ride your street bike on the track? Go build a bike." So then I started putting money into the little 250, and then I was like, "What's this thing really going to do?" To be honest with you, there wasn't really much for that bike,
Right.
because everybody was on the Honda 300Rs or the Ninjas or the Yamaha R3s and all that stuff.
Yep.
So that kind of was like outdated, anyways. And to progress to A group, you're not going to be on a 250.
Yeah. I mean, might have the skill, but the bike can't go there.
Doing.
Yeah. So then you bought the 660, right?
No.
Oh wait, no,
I
yeah,
bought,
the R6.
yeah, so I bought James Pamplin's R6. Did it that's and then put the Triumph to the side. And then I think it was like the first day I took the thing out, I either went out and turned four, or it was about a couple track days after. I went out and turned four and wadded it up, and it wasn't that big of a deal damage wise. It was a couple $100 to fix. But
were you an intermediate?
No, I was still a novice. Turn four, novice.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, well, I better buy another track bike just in case mine goes down, because I planned on traveling, and if I wrecked, I wanted to make sure I had something else. So a backup plan. So then I bought a Honda CBR 600RR.
Yeah, the one that's behind me.
Right. Yeah. And then I fully built it into like a track bike basically. And then after that, I bought the 660.
Because you saw mine and were like, man, I gotta have that.
Yeah, it was it was the sweet bike, and it's a good step up from the small bikes. It was the best. I mean, it is the best bike I have. I love that thing.
Yeah.
So
it's kind
of a Ducati after that. So
yeah, it's kind of it's so close to 600 like inline power, but it has that torque. It's and it's usable power. So it's such a good platform, I think. I mean, because I was always a Aprilia guy, and when I had the RSV4, I was always like, man, I wish they'd come out with a middleweight of some sort. When that came out, got announced, I was like, I'm buying it like soon as it's available, and I did.
Yeah.
Like soon as I could pre-order it, I bought it. I bought the first run of them, which had some problems and stuff, but yeah, I still love that thing, and it's still like I'm the most comfortable on it, and the thing's just, I don't know, it's such a great bike. I mean, it's good to ride if you are starting out. Like it's got more than enough power. And it's not, not enough power to get bored with, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not overwhelming power at the same time where you can get in a lot of trouble. You still get in trouble on it, but it's not like crazy.
I think the Twins Cup class, like those style bikes, are like the best bikes to start and progress on. They're just easy. It's cheaper.
Yeah, I mean,
you're not burning to retire every single day.
I kind of like go back and forth on it because I learned a lot of my skill on the Duke 390 and the Ninja 300. It makes you really learn that corner speed and stuff. But if you wanted to just buy one and not have to buy one, get out of it, and then we're going to buy the next thing and progress. I would agree that that Twins class is it's such a very good middle ground where they make enough power to not be bored, but it's not crazy power to get you in a lot of trouble. It still requires corner speed and a lot of the discipline of the 300s and 400s. It's just the 300s and 400s, you can't mess up. You mess up, there's no power there to gain anything back. Yeah. Where Twins bikes, you can make up some of that time, but it's still close enough where, it still kind of gives you some of that good teaching of the lower powered bikes. But yeah, I mean, all around, I don't know. I mean, 600s are kind of going out now, and the twin stuff is just huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bigger than it had ever been, and I mean, to me personally, I think the Aprilia is the best bike of them all. I think best chassis, best power, etc. But that's just
I think all of my buddies who bought Twins Cup bikes, like the R7s and the Suzukis and all that stuff, I'm pretty sure they all just bought Aprilias this
year. Yeah.
So.
Yep. And we know Ian. He's he rode mine. Was like, damn, man.
Yeah.
So much faster. I know mine's built, whatever, but still, yours isn't that much slower than mine with a stock motor and tons of bolt-ons. But, it's such a huge – the R7's just such a turd. It's whatever. Yep. But, Yeah, and well,
Bias
I could
over here,
argue
but
with Schwannick all day about the SV650 thing, but
yeah.
uh, yeah.
Jared
So
Jared Trees on that what you call it 650 flies.
he's like a freak, though, man. He's like a Mark Marquez of Weira Twins, and
Yes,
and
exactly.
now he doesn't race in Twins anymore. He's on that 750, so we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now we have to worry about everybody who just bought 660s. All the people you know.
Yes.
I know a couple people that bought brand new like factories, and they're all gonna
Mhm.
race those, which is good
Yep.
because the grid will be good and whatever. A little bit more
Heck yeah.
competition. So, but well, first one question before we go into more depth. But that first track day you did, what was your expectations like going into it, and then like, what was the reality? What hit you? Like, how was your feelings when you were there? You know what I mean? Like, was it what you expected going into it? Was it more than that? Like, give me a little background on it.
I watched videos of the track ahead of time and what track days were like and whatnot. So I had an idea of what was going to go on, and like all the advice, say like don't bring your ego into it and all that stuff. And I still thought I was going to be super fast. I'd be an A group right away, but no, I sucked and I was slow, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, getting to open up a bike on a track and actually ride it the way it was designed to be ridden. It was a blast. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, I thought I was going to be way better. Obviously, I wasn't.
Was
But
it intimidating at all?
not
I mean, like
a
compare
little
like
bit.
so the one thing I know like when you're on the road for whatever reason, I mean, you're riding back roads and stuff. You're always like preemptively braking because like, well, you don't know even though if you know the road, you're like, well, I don't know what's around the corner. I don't know what's over this crest. But when you have like, you could see it's all open track, everybody's going the same way. And you're carrying more speed. It seems like at first, like it feels like a little bit more intimidating for some reason.
Mhm. I mean, it seemed intimidating, but I think it was a lot of like the adrenaline and the rush and all like everything happening all at once, and you're like, holy shit, like we're cruising here,
Yeah.
you know. Um, So it was a little bit intimidating, but I don't know. I'm a big thrill seeker, so like I was stoked. I think and then I continued to do them like as many weekends in a row as I could after that point. So it didn't scare me away.
Yeah, you do a lot of days. More than I mean, you do probably more than in a year than I did in 2 years. Well, especially starting, you did probably 10 times more than I did. But yeah, you do a lot of days, man. You get a lot of track time. So how long were you in novice then?
I think it was. I think I probably did 4 or 5 novice days. So it was a good half of the season, I would say. Um, Maybe a little bit less, and then within the first year I was still a novice. Second year I got bumped in intermediate pretty much in the beginning, so which was a good time. It was. I felt like that was appropriate time for somebody who had very little street experience or riding
Yeah.
experience to do roughly half a season in novice and then get into intermediate starting the next season.
And then how long were you in intermediate then? Like yeah, well, how long were you in intermediate and then what was your like head like going into advance?
So I was in intermediate for probably about a year. And then I did a Wira race, and then I was like, I want to get quicker, so I could get into A group, and it kind of all like molded together with racing, picking up speed, and then eventually getting into A group after that. So
What was what got you to want to start club racing with like Wira?
I'm a very competitive person. I like, I do jujitsu, I compete in that stuff. Anything I do with my buddies, it's always like very competitive. And like, I was like, it's fun to ride on the track, but like, where am I really going with this? Do I want to get faster and just be the guy who says, oh, I can ride this time, or, test and see how well I do against other people? And that's why I jumped into the whole Wira thing and racing as much as I could.
Is there anybody that was like, dude, you got to go race?
You,
Well, that's true.
uh,
Yeah.
Roberton, Kersey, all the whole
Take that
gang of
turd out
guys.
there and race.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
exactly. Yeah. Unless it's got 250 horse, and it's always a turd to Kersey.
Yeah.
So,
I don't I think I told you that like he did an endurance race with me on my 390 and I'm like, "You want an
mhm.
endurance race? I guess I'll ride that turd." I mean,
Yeah.
he like despised it, but I know he was having fun. He just couldn't admit it. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
so yeah, you start racing stuff, and then you've been coaching with Fasttrax for 2 years now, right?
Yep.
So what brought that on? Well, like, how did you get into the coaching spot, and then also, why did you want to become a coach?
So I remember one day, I think you guys were shorthanded up there, and we're always you, me, and Kiggins always pit next to each other. And I offered to help with tech. I'm like, Kiggins, you want some help in tech or whatnot? And he's like, yeah, it would be great. And like I was like, I like helping people in general, so went and did that with him. And then he asked, would you have any interest in coaching? I'm like, are you sure you want me coaching people? And he's like, no, like you're doing well here. You do well with the people, and I like helping. I like teaching people how to do stuff. Um, and yeah, I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it and see what happens.
Yeah, because I mean, like, so a lot. You're one of them. Chris Johnson was one of them. Ian, who's going to be a coach now, was one of them. Not only were like we were helping you guys, but it's a I was intermediate and you're running an advance. You're not a coach yet, and Crudy was up there or somebody else, and you kind of were already doing that. Like, hey, let's go out. I'll pull you around because maybe you
Mm-hmm.
had, you were a little bit faster and you were help. You were already kind of doing those things, just as a customer.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I think that's one of the things that like Kiggins definitely saw because like you kind of tell that like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
people that want to help other people get a little bit faster, even if they just don't do, just become friends with people up there, and all of a sudden, hey, I'll pull you around, do whatever, and yeah,
Yeah.
so that's kind of there was kind of a group of us anyways that all kind of just went out like. It
Yep.
was like me, Kiggins, and you, and Johnson, and Crudy, and it'd just be like a line, and we'd be pulling each other around and having fun, and whatever. So,
Yep.
what of all your of the time you've been coaching up there or whatever for the last 2 years, and has there been a particular experience that you had or interaction or whatever time could be in intermediate, novice, advanced, whatever, whoever you were doing it with, that really just sticks out in your head as like one of those essential thing, great experiences you had as a coach?
So, like in the way of like coaching other people, that's what you mean.
Yep.
There's been like a lot of them. They're kind of hard to pinpoint exactly which one. I think we spoke about it before. There was the one girl on that like white Triumph.
Yep.
She was struggling with some stuff. And like we've talked before, I'm a pretty quiet person, and like some people, they're quiet also. And I saw her; she got a little nervous with certain things, and I pulled her aside. I was like, "Hey, is there anything you want to work on?" Yada yada yada. And she's like, "Yeah, I really am having a hard time into one and four and whatnot." And we went out and worked on this stuff. And we came back in, and like she was stoked. She was ecstatic. Like she was just like, "I get it." And like those kind of moments with like the customers or like what you want. You want to see people, getting it and understanding and getting that point where, okay, this is what I was doing wrong. Now I know why. And, just seeing people improve, there's just so many different people. It's kind of hard to pinpoint one specific event, but I'd say like with her or with Ian Cree, he was having a hard time with carousel, and I was like, he's like, hey, can you help me out with this? I'm like, well, show you what Ryan taught me, and like we've talked before, like, if you're coming out of it, you're not all the way to the right hand side, and you're not going at least 90, you're not going quick enough. Like you need to get more drive out of there,
Yeah.
especially on smaller bikes. And he came back, he's like, oh, I get it now. He said he was doing like 17s and he got into like the 14s or whatever it was.
Yeah. Oh,
Or,
yeah. That's right. Yep.
he picked up a lot of time just from that. So like just seeing people get what
Make
you're
those
showing
leaps.
them, then they it reciprocates back. It's a good thing.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that chick because and about turn one that you helped her with that, because the last time that I had her in my novice group, and we got her bump that day, I remember I'm like, the back straight. I'm like, are you full throttle? She's like, no. I'm like, why not? She's like, I don't know. And I go,
Yeah.
do you understand how fast you're going? Like, she flies in turn one. Whatever you did with her in turn one, she's flying. I mean, literally flying, especially for novice. I was like looking at the speedo, and I'm like, dude, we're
she breaks.
rolling through one. I'm like,
Yeah.
the speed you're going through one is far more dangerous than going fast down the back straight. And I go, look, let's keep that in mind, and then let's I'll be in front of you. Like, this was after lunch or whatever, so it was open. I go, I'm gonna just do this with my left hand. You hold it open until I go like that and close it off, and I'm gonna close the throttle at a safe position for you. So we did that, and she's so good following rules, or not rules, but like suggestions. And she did that right away. And the next lap, the same thing. And like, it just shrunk the lap time down so much. Like, that was really the only spot she was missing. It's like she just wasn't going full gas on the back straight. And I'm like, yeah, now we're good. And then I forget who did her eval, and she got the bump. Man, she was like, dude, just jumping up and down. Just pumped. I was so happy to see her get into intermediate, because she's rode novice with us quite a while. And, man, she's, like you always said, body position, you taught her that too. Like, her body position is insane. It's so good. Like, and she's such a, like, she barely reached the ground.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It was, you did a really good job with that. Like, I mean, I didn't know that you were the one that helped her in, like, for one, but dude, she's so insanely fast into one. It's just crazy. So I guess going in with that stuff, I ask everybody this question too, like, what do you think is like the most difficult thing for people to get their head around or overcome, to get out of novice to get into intermediate, or, on average? Because, I mean, everybody may have a little bit different things. Some person might struggle with this or that, but on average, I think there's probably a common denominator for that. And then the same thing, what do you think as far as going from intermediate to advance? What's that on average is like that one hurdle?
So I think a lot of people try to rush stuff. I think that they're trying to show like, hey, I can go fast. And, we're not necessarily looking for people to be fast. We're looking for people to be consistent, predictable. And when people stop worrying about lap times and worrying about like how fast they're going, they end up becoming a lot smoother. And I think that goes for both intermediate and novice. And, just working on being consistent and smooth. Like, we talk about, even with us, when we're riding, like, stop looking at your lap timer. Like, some of your best laps will be the ones that you did without looking at your lap timer.
For
sure. And kind of just go out there and have fun, and, stop worrying about being a novice and like thinking that you're not doing well because you're stuck in novice. Like, everybody moves at their own pace.
Extremely good point.
Some people are in novice for years. Some people don't even want to get out of novice. Some people just like novice, the structure of it, and sticking to that pace. Some people are the same way in intermediate. I mean, I know people who just want to be an intermediate. They don't want to go in advanced and deal with, the tight passes and, pushing a bike a little bit harder and whatnot. So
yeah, what they don't realize though is that advance is far better and safer than intermediate. And
yes.
I know that you and me have both, as coaches, had some people that were like, I don't know if I'm ready. And we're like, no, dude, you are ready. And I'm telling you, when you go in advance, you're going to be like, oh man, this is way better. It's like there's just, I don't know, there's some, I don't know, like this haze around it, or whatever you want to call it, of like, oh, these guys are all super duper duper fast and pros, and I feel like I'm going to be a rolling roadblock. I know that's how I kind of felt too, a little bit.
Oh, Same
But
here. Like, on a 660 going into A group, for the first time, you're like, man, the bike's a little bit slower. And then like you get out there and, you got guys, Zubik and all his buddies on their giant leader bikes doing, tens and nines and whatnot, zipping past you. It's a little intimidating, but, you get out there and you realize that you're going, roughly, maybe not with the leader bikes, but I was passing people and I was like, dude, I can't believe I passed people.
Yeah, I think it's a misconception because like a lot of people that we go, no, you need to go out there. Let's go out there. We'll get your eval, and then they find out like, oh, okay, well, I'm not the slowest out here. I'm not a roadblock. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're gonna get passed, of course. Everyone will get passed. I get passed. You get passed. I mean, there's always somebody faster, but there's also probably going to be somebody slower, 2 or 3 people slower. It doesn't matter, but it's just safer. People know their lines. They're committed more to what they're doing. People have, a higher skill set there. So, yeah, it's interesting that, we have both kind of talked people into it and been like, we know you're good. Like, we know it. Just trust us. Go out there. Let's do it. And it's interesting because once they do it, then they're locked in. They're like, oh, yeah, okay, cool.
Yep.
What else here? Let me look here. I had a couple. One question people, I've only asked a couple times, but like, I already know your answer, but it's like, do you still learn from other coaches, even now? Of course, right? I mean, shit, we even learned from sometimes we have some really experienced customers that go up there.
Oh yeah, definitely. Again, I've only been riding for about 5 years, so like, I feel that I kind of moved up pretty quick compared to some other people. But there's so much lack of, experience that I have, but I have done a lot of track days. I mean, I think I've probably done over 100 of them by now. But like, there's always somebody to teach you something new. Every single day you learn something different. You know?
I think it's very interesting. You could probably tell the story when you were at Pitt and what's his name? Cody
Wyman.
Yeah. He was behind you. And I don't think did you know he was behind you?
No, I didn't know he was behind me. He was, I think
tell
he was
that
working
story
with,
because that's very, very interesting to see. Like, he's Moto America guy. Next level of skill that's far surpasses above a club race or whatever. Tell that story because it's very interesting.
He coaches with Champ School and all that stuff. So I was on track and there was another guy he was doing a private day with. His bike basically the same thing as mine, 660 Trofeo. And somehow we got mixed up on track and he was behind me. And we came back in after pit and, somebody pulled up next to me. He didn't have like a coach's jersey on, other than I saw the Champ School thing on his leathers. And he's like, hey, we need to work on, you getting off to the side of the bike prior to braking, like set the turn up before you tip in. And I was like, oh, I was like, who are you? He's like, Cody. And he's like, oh, wait, you're not the guy I was working with at the time. I guess the guy pitted back in. And I picked his brain a lot and, got to know him pretty good. Cody's a good dude.
We skipped over one thing that I thought was like extremely interesting. I mean, that part was interesting, but like the one thing he said, about your shift lever or whatever it was.
Yeah. So he could tell that I hadn't moved over enough on the bike. Oh, what was that one thing?
Something he could tell the way the position of something was that was limiting your movement or something, right?
I think it's because I was shifting too late or something like that, but my foot was in the wrong position, which was weighting the bike the wrong way. I'm like, how the heck would you even know that? But he was able to pick up that fine little detail, and it changed everything.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like when we talked about that, I'm like, man, that just shows you like
that's what it was. I was leaned over and I wasn't able to shift properly, and I was like reaching back out with my leg, which was disrupting the bike. Basically the big thing was like preparing before you tip in, essentially. But he was able to pick up that tiny little thing right there, and it made a huge difference going in like the turn 7. I mean, I think I took a second off my lap time
Yeah,
just from that alone.
it's crazy. Like, I mean, just that next level. I mean, he's been doing it a long, long, long time and has a ton of talent. But like to be able to translate that into being behind someone and picking those little things out, it's wild to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we can see quite a few things and we can pick out certain things from the knowledge that we have. You know, it's
Yep.
we're limited to what we've learned, right? And
Yep.
you know, there's all of our coaches have, you know, X amount of experience, so we're limited in our knowledge to a certain point. But there's somebody that knows more than me, and then somebody that knows more than that guy, or, you know, somebody knows more than you, or whatever it is. And just to see that going higher, like, man, it's crazy. And to go, okay, well, he's just he's a Moto America guy, not just a Moto America guy, but he's a Moto America guy. Like, okay, well, what's the next level up? What can they see? What can they pick out?
Yeah.
Like, it's wild to hear that. I just kind of blew my mind a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's very interesting, I thought.
Yep.
Uh, so, I mean, you've done a ton of track days. You've been to several different tracks, rode with different organization stuff, and you know, from your time, you know, as a client and going to these different tracks and with different orgs. We're not naming any because that's not the point. But you know, you rode with Lean, and you know, Fasttrax is basically Lean under another name. I mean, all the coaches for the most part, except the ones that came in under Fasttrax, you know, the newer ones like myself. But a lot of the guys that rode with Lean, coach with Lean, still there. But you know, what is it about Fasttrax that you think is kind of like that little extra special thing, the thing that sticks out that is just kind of a little bit different, you know, that kind of, you know, let's say puts us ahead or makes us better. I look at it that way personally, you know, that my particular reason for what I like about it that elevates it over other organizations or whatever. I mean, you don't have to particularly look at it that way. But what is that thing that's just, you know, different about Fasttrax that you just really love?
I think one that, you know, it's a smaller facility. There's, you know, it's not like a huge big event like Pitt or down at Mid Ohio or whatnot. And you know, it's more close knit, family oriented group. I feel that we're able to work with a lot of the customers more one on one, especially in like novice. And you know, the other thing with like Nelson's Ledges, it's a very inviting track. It's not super technical. You know, it's easy to learn. It's hard to master, but it's you know, it's a very good track for people to wanting to get in the track days to learn on, and then you know, move on from there. You know, I think that our groups are a little bit smaller than some other organizations. And we're able to work with, you know, especially like novice wise, more one-on-one with them.
Yeah, I agree with that. And man, what a awesome way to say that is like, it's easy to learn, but it's hard to master. And that's true. I mean, because, you know, it's a lot of right-handers. You can memorize the track quickly, but to get it all together and do it fast and like perfect, it is very hard to master. I mean, it's not super technical in a particular way, but at the same time, there are some technical things that I would say are like technical, but it's just like it takes the right. I don't know how to explain it, but you know what you said is exactly right. I would say easy to learn, hard to master. I'd say that's, you know, a very good description of it. And you know, going on that, what do you see? Even, you know, when we have guys come in from wherever, like when we're endurance rounds, you know, especially those MA guys that come in and this and that. And I know you've seen it, I've seen it, or anybody that's out of town or whatever, but they're good riders and they come in, and even the people that go there all the time. What do you think, you know, in particular, is the hardest part of the track to master if you had to pick it out?
Carousel can be tricky. Turn four, everybody talks about turn four. It's a very difficult turn, maybe because you're going right most of the time, and it's one of the only lefts that you're going on. Um, you can set it up so many different ways. Um, like I've seen people who, have Moto America plates that were, struggling out there in some of the turns, um, and it's interesting. Some of there's little nuances to the track that you got to learn. Carousel is a tricky one. Some people take a real tight line in, some people to go out wide. I mean, Hayes and Rocco were pulling lines that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
And running ridiculous times, backing it into turn one. I mean,
Which
it's
is
just
insane.
silliness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty crazy. I've never seen anybody back it into one before, but yeah, they were. It's
Yeah.
freaking wild, man. Yeah. So, what what part of the track do you struggle with the most? Yeah, I mean,
Four.
you've got it down pretty good, but you think four? That's where you're.
Four. Yeah.
What
100% four.
like what entry mid? Like what exactly you struggle
Entry.
with on it?
Definitely entry. I mean, mainly because I've gone out on it a couple times, and like if you do get it wrong, it goes wrong pretty quick. Because I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure it's got a nice bank to it, but then it levels out on the top side of it.
yeah.
And then if you go a little too bit wide, it's a little dirty out there.
All the
It's
marbles,
just
tire marbles.
yeah.
Yep.
And then like when you're racing on it, you either have somebody going right up underneath you, and you always got to watch out for some young kid doing that on a tiny little bike.
Hey, I did that to you.
A few times, yeah. But yeah, turn four is a tough one. 12 is another one. Like I have an issue with like braking too early into it because with my Ducati, I've had a couple false neutrals where you just kind of have to go straight.
Yeah, I've been
So
there.
a little hesitant, and when you go off there, it's a bunch of gopher holes and whatnot, and it's an off-roading experience on slicks basically. So 4 and 12 basically, that's pretty much what I struggle with.
What do you think are your strong suits there?
Now after this season, carousel, I'm pretty good going into turn one. I can get going. I have an issue with braking a little too early and slowing down too much, but a lot of guys say that like my drive out of corners is insane. Like I don't know
100%.
why.
Like well, I know carousel. You're faster there than I am. That's for sure. I know that especially coming out, and then always for whatever reason, out of 13, man,
Yeah.
you always seem to have a better drive out of 13 than I do. But yeah, you have really good drive out of 13, and I mean your carousel is fantastic. So you just run I don't know, it's clean, good line through it. You're like very consistent. Not, I mean, even pretty seasoned people, you'll see the like rolling
Yeah.
in and out of the gas, trying to like, do I need to tighten up the corner or widen it or whatever? And yours just seems to be very like just super smooth through there. The other thing that you are extremely good at is consistency. Good Lord. Your
Yeah. I
consistency
mean,
is crazy good.
yeah, and I think that's goes with once you've been riding something a long time and you can get into like that flow state, and it's just like the same thing. It's a cool little spot to be in, I guess.
It
And you
is.
can tell too, like when you mess up one thing, you lose that time pretty quick. And it's interesting when you're going that consistent lap after lap, and that one little thing you messed up on, you'll remember. Try to work on it from there.
For
So.
sure, for sure. Yeah, it's do you I mean I've talked about this with you before, and I've kind of mentioned on this too. Like, I mean, you have the not the brand new V2, but the older one that makes good power, and then you have your 660.
Mhm.
Do you find it more difficult to ride the V2? I mean, not just because you have more time on the 660 and you're more comfortable with it, but like just in general, do you think the bigger bike is the V2 is harder to ride in general?
Yes, I would say so. There's plenty of people who come out on, they go out and buy a brand new BMW S1000 double R, and they do well on it, and that's what they learn on. For me, again, with my, been riding only for 5 years, when I went and bought this thing, I bought it, basically as a, an extra toy to have, and I thought I was like, oh, I'm going to go out just like I was on my 660. And no, it's a whole different ball game. I mean, corners come up a lot quicker. You got to brake at the right moment, and like just the power was just a lot. And I think that like one thing when it comes to like trying to coach people, a lot of people are always like chasing a different setup or chasing this next part or whatever it is. Like a lot of it's just learning to ride the bike you have and working with it, and becoming comfortable and more consistent on that, and then like you'll start to grow. When I started, when I kept trying to switch back and forth from Ducati to the Aprilia, it was nothing but a mess. And you know what that's like. You go from your Ducati, it makes
100%,
220 horse, to a bike that makes like 100 plus horse. They just handle different. It's just a different animal, basically.
You brought
And
up a good point with the sorry to cut you off about setup thing, because I remember I was like, dude, we need to. I can already see like we need to raise the height in the back of the bike, and you're like, nah, well, maybe later or whatever.
That stuff, it's all good. Yeah,
and you were like so adamant, like you didn't want to change anything. Like you just thought, well, I'll just ride it. Like it's the skill, and like yes, that is a part of it, but like there is sometimes where you do need to, and when we did that, it helped, right? The bike felt better.
Oh,
you were just
100%.
You were so extremely resistant to like changes because you're like, I know the bike, I just need to work on myself, and like that's a great attitude to have on it. But sometimes, making those finite adjustments can like raise that confidence and make you feel better on the bike. I mean, it'll make a difference in how the bike acts, but it will also like once you feel that, the confidence level goes up. Then you can obviously go a little bit faster. But I always thought it was hilarious. I was like, dude, put 2 mil of ride height in the back. You're like, yeah, I'll get it. And you even asked me like, how do I change that? And a year and a half later, shit's still the same until I did it myself for you.
Like in the Aprilia, it changed a lot, but the Ducati was the big thing. Like I could go run, 10 or not 10s, like 12s consistently on the Aprilia. And then on the bike that's supposed to be faster and all that stuff, I could. Oh, you got to walk right there.
Go ahead.
With the Ducati, like I was struggling to, pull an 18 with the thing. The thing made 150 horse, and right. We got back, and I was like, I'm just gonna sell this thing. I don't get it. It's not working for me. And you're like, well, let's look at the bike real quick. And you're like, dude, it's set in like comfort mode, and like you have no preload in the rear. Like this is way damping. Too soft for you. Yeah. The sag was completely off. And then like once we changed up some of the settings on it, I was like, oh, now it feels more like the other bike. It's not.
Didn't you gain like so 3 or 4 seconds that day?
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I think I went from like 17s or 18s down. I think I got down to 11.7 or something like that.
It's crazy.
I'm like, okay, now I get it. And I think on like bigger bikes, if you don't set them up right, it can affect how you ride it. There's just so much more going on, and things are happening so much quicker. And that's where people get like overwhelmed. They got this big beast that makes a ton of power, and they're trying to figure it out. And that's why like I'm still a firm believer in starting with a small bike and learning from there, moving up. Not trying to go with like the biggest, baddest bike because it's the cool thing to have. You get a lot of guys like that come out and they think they're like, they're good street riders, and they got these big badass 200 horsepower bikes, and then they park it in every single turn.
Yeah, I agree. But I still like, we're talking about like getting it set up. I mean, I think that's for me at least like a little baseline, just to like, get the preload, get the bike set in the stroke correctly. So just at least, I mean, it's safer for one, it's more comfortable.
Yeah.
But I would like pretty much agree with you. They're like, I'm like two schools of thoughts on that. Like I always say this because, I know it's freaking true. If you put big money in suspension, even if you don't need it, your brain goes, I have the best. and there's that
Yeah.
level of confidence. I talked about the last interview I did, which was John Evans or whatever. We're talking about that. Like, whoa, when I got an airbag, I felt like I had this like extra level protection, which let me
Yeah.
ride harder with less
Yep.
risk. Even though, like, I mean, yeah, there's more safety there, but necessarily should it make me go faster? Not really. It was just like in my brain, whatever. And then going from street tires to slicks, there's like you could probably still go the same pace on the DOTs that you were running when you first went to slicks, but it's like, well, I get this extra level of grip now that I didn't have. In your brain,
Yeah.
it's all like whatever. But so like I am a big like I wouldn't shit on people for like doing those things because as a mentally wise, it does like help somehow, even
Yeah.
if you're not necessarily utilizing that or need it. But the approach of like, okay, you just get the baseline on and work on yourself is probably the best thing. Cause like if you can ride a bike that doesn't have the most premium shit on it, well then you can definitely ride a bike that's got premium stuff. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
And,
there's like two
you know,
like I look at it two different ways, but go ahead.
I think like a lot of people think when they go to the track, they have this tricked out bike with Olin's this or K-Tech that. And I think it's important people to know that like you don't have to have that kind of stuff to come out and ride on the track. Like, you
No,
don't need to go
absolutely
out and
not.
buy the best this and that. Like bring I mean, we have guys going out there on, Gold Wings
Harleys.
that are having a great time.
Yeah.
And I still remember when I was at Pit Race one time, all the Moto America guys were there. They couldn't ride their spec bikes, but they could ride the factory version. And these, an R660 stock, the rear suspension's terrible. The front suspension's not great at all. And they were running within a couple seconds of like what they were racing at. So like
Jesus.
and again, they're on a different level. They have more experience. They know what it's like to ride a bike that might have some different issues, but like, again, it just shows you that you don't have to have this, $40,000 bike to go quick. There's plenty of people that go and ride on, stock equipment that, would blow your mind and how quick they are.
Oh yeah, for sure. They'll ride around us on bikes that are completely set up on a bone stock bike. It's just the level of skill they have is just far better.
Well, like when I remember there was a guy up at the track, he had a fully built, I mean, he probably had $80,000 into his V4R, that the full carbon fiber and whatnot. And it was race school, and Johnson was on his, what is it, a 2004, 2005, 2001
Yeah.
Gixxer 750 with a mud flap on the back, right behind you there. And he was within a second of him.
Yeah. On DOTs.
On DOTs, and the other guy was on full slicks. Granted, on the main straight, that bike took off pretty quick, and on the back straight, it was gone. But
yeah,
like,
well, that
he
right
was
there
able to-
tells you though he was making up that time on the back straight, right? And Chris was doing it everywhere else.
20-plus-year-old suspension,
Not even
DOT.
radial mount brakes. They're like, jeez, great. I don't know how he does it, man. He's fast on that thing.
It pisses me off because he's quick on that damn thing.
He is.
I don't want to see him on a new, faster bike. It's gonna make it look slow.
I don't know. Maybe he'll go slower because he won't be used to all the new tech and how good the new stuff
away.
is. Or having a bike that weighs under like, I don't know, that thing's got to weigh like 500 pounds. I swear.
Yeah. And it's got an air sail on the back of it, basically.
It does.
With the mud flap.
Yeah, it has a it's like it doesn't have DRS engaged. That thing's like just blocking the wind.
Exactly.
I mentioned this too a couple times. I haven't asked everybody, but I try to bring it every once in a while because I find it interesting and also want to just kind of pick your brain a little bit stuff, different people. But like, Malakar's awesome as, leading the organization. And he's, very open to ideas and stuff if we have the ability to do whatever that idea is, if we have enough staff or whatever it may be for that particular time. He's pretty open to stuff. Like I, with the novice group 1, started to do that, kind of take them outside. Like they don't need to hear this again for the 7th time. We'll go and discuss some stuff in that 3 people in the group, and they can ask questions, maybe stuff we didn't cover or isn't covered in the syllabus. So we have that type of thing, or the way we changed where we rotate on leapfrog for novice. You know, there's different things that, you know, ideas that people have come up with or try to introduce, and we try to do those things. Is there anything that, like, you're like, man, you know, not that we don't run a really good organization, but you're like, man, this would make some added value that you ever thought about? Like, man, well, we should maybe try this.
So you actually introduced some of the stuff last season, where you would actually videotape the person that you were working with. You'd get behind them, you'd pull them into the classroom afterwards, or you'd have them come up to your tent and you'd show them, like, hey, this is what you were doing. And I know a lot of other organizations, like I mentioned before, Cody Wyman, like, he wears the glasses, and he'd follow me, and then he's like, hey, check this out, and he could pull it up on his phone immediately and show me, hey, you're doing this in this turn, and this is why I want you to change this.
Yeah.
And I think that's a cool added on, you know, feature that you started last year, that worked really good.
It'd be awesome if we could get more people to do that. I mean, I'm terrible at, like, I mean, heck, you even run your GoPro more than I do. Chris Johnson does for sure. He's videoed quite a few people. You know, I forget, or just sometimes I'm like, I just don't care about putting it on, especially if I'm going out by myself in advance sometimes. Usually I only do it on race days, or if there's somebody, you know, working with. But, like, it would be good to do that. Like you said, it's like having telling someone what they did, but they can't visually see that. The visual of it to show, like, look, here's what this is, and I want you to be here instead. It's just so beneficial. And yeah, I agree with that. And one of the things I want to do, like, I've talked about it before, but you know, anybody that does want to do that or whatever, love to give them access on the YouTube channel I started as Fasttrax, because I don't want to say it's mine, because I'm, you know, doing it for the organization. That, you know, if you worked with somebody, that you can create a little playlist on there. So right now I have the playlist for, like, the coaches, the vendors, and then there's the riders meeting playlist that I have, which is, like, you know, talking to clients that we've had or customers or whatever. But, you know, oh, here's Chris Boergert's playlist, and in that section would be anybody that you worked with, and you would put in, you know, Bob, whatever, at this day, session 3, whatever it is, at this date. And then they could actually, you know, you might show them at the track, or they could go later on and go look and get some third-person perspective of that.
Yeah.
And I think that would be cool as just, like, an added bonus, because, like, you know, a lot of times that stuff, that's all extra paid for stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To be able to include that as just, like, you know, if we can, because I don't want to say it's a thing that's, like, it's mandatory, because, like, man, not everybody has a camera or wants to do that or whatever, but, like, people who want to volunteer to do that, I think that'd be fantastic as an added benefit for the group, just like you're saying, and, you know, at no cost. You know, I mean, we do it because we want to do it, and yeah, it's something you don't get normally, you know, unless you're paying something extra for it, right? Like for that one-on-one, like Cody's coaching sessions, or for the weekends, you know, crazy expensive, whatever. But, you know, obviously he has a lot more knowledge base and stuff for that. So, like, you know, maybe the price is warranted stuff, but just to be able to have that little extra something for our customers would be cool. So yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Yep. One other thing, like, sometimes, like, everybody thinks that you're in advanced and that, like, you know, that's it. You don't need any more coaching. And with some of the other organizations I've ridden with, they offer coaching for advanced people who are looking to do, you know, that next level to get you up to, you know, maybe if you want to race a little bit more, or you're missing that, like, you know, a lot. I think that, like, everybody thinks when you get to advanced, that's it. There's still plenty to learn. You know, maybe offering some stuff for, you know, some of the advanced guys, like, hey, you know, would you want to work on this or whatnot? So could be an option.
I agree with that. I think that there are a particular group of people, and generally, and I think you would agree with this as well, if you're working with somebody and you've worked with somebody intermediate, let's say Ian, right? You worked with him intermediate. When he got advanced, he's still coming to you, say, "Hey, come work. You know, can you help me?" Tim Allen was a good one. There's been quite a few people that when you worked with them in novice, you worked with them in intermediate. They've already built this like relationship with you, and they ask for help. There's other people that maybe you've never worked with or whatever, and or they're new there. Came from out of town to ride the track or whatever it is, and like I'm not saying they're scared to ask or anything. Maybe there are people like that, or maybe they think that which is completely not true. That I don't want to bother a coach. I mean, I love helping in advance and stuff. In intermediate advance, I kind of like each thing, but there's something about intermediate advance, like working one-on-one, that I really enjoy much better. Or like novice after lunch when you can work one-on-one. I really like that too. It's easier for us instead of paying attention to 3 people for one.
Yeah.
And then there's just building that like relationship with that person, and then them putting their trust in you and stuff. And then, seeing those gains and stuff. It just kind of like, it's very fulfilling to have that. But maybe it's, I know Malakar mentions like, well, we coached to any level, whatever. Well, okay. But say, hey, anybody that's, in advance that wants to take advantage of something, like, look, we're going to have Chris and, Chris Boergert and Chris Johnson. They're going to be in there today. Grab them up. They want to help. They want to tow you around. They want to have some fun. Go grab them up. They'll work with you for a couple sessions, whatever it is. Just, go over to them. Maybe make it a little bit more apparent than just like we coach to every level. Yeah. Or maybe even someone, it could be Malakar or whoever, even maybe write up a syllabus for advance, a small one, and one for intermediate. Just like, okay, here's our, like, these 5 really important topics we should talk about in advance. And these 5 important topics that we should talk about in intermediate, knowing that the person should be at this level at that point. And here's some things or whatever. And it's not, not mandatory at all, but if you want to, here's these, we have these 5 things. We talk about those. We do a little one-on-one on the track, whatever it may be. But yeah, I think that's, it'd be great for that. I just think we maybe need to make it a little bit more apparent and seem more available and accessible or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, I have a question for you. What do you think about like a Cardo kind of thing? Because some organizations I've seen, they've used Cardo to kind of work with people. And then, I also see like, somebody talking while you're riding can be very distracting. But if you're like having somebody follow you and you're be like, hey, we're going to tip in here now, or whatever it is, you see any advantage to that kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah, I think, cause I've seen videos of that, like, and it's usually like, really good rider, MA guy or something like that, experienced guy, that, has a customer that, it's like that kind of like the Cody thing where they're paying for that 2-day full-on experience thing and that Cardo, and they can point out things as it's happening or after it happened. Hey, you missed this here because you did this. So the next time around, I want you to do whatever it is. Or they get in front of them and go, you see where I'm at right now? This is where I want you to be. This is where I want you to set up. Look at my body position. See how I'm breaking up, upright or doing this or whatever. I think it'd be fantastic. The only issue I see with that is like, so it would be like you would have to have 2 Cardos and be putting it in somebody's helmet.
Yeah. And their helmet has to be compatible too. So
right. And I don't know if they make them. I know there was a company that made something like that where it just sticks onto the helmet and like it uses the helmet as a speaker or something. I think it's a fantastic idea. Logistically, if it was easy to do, I think it'd be freaking awesome. I also think it would be fantastic for all the coaches to have it novice. Hey, we're coming up on you. Yeah, So, but no, I think that like if you're doing that one-on-one thing, I think it would be beneficial. I 100% agree with you on that. Could it distract some people? Possibly. I don't know, but I guess you have to do it the right way. You can't be just fully talking the entire time or doing whatever. But if they make this mistake and you go right what you did there, we're gonna fix that. Watch me when I come around, and then you're explaining that as they're behind you watching.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily gonna do exactly that on that lap, but say, hey, I don't want you to like try to follow this line right now or do whatever. Just be watch what I'm doing, and as I explain it, and the next lap around, I want you to do that.
Yep.
I think that would be great, yeah, for sure. And then you add that with the video. I mean, like, man, it's like a whole package, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy. Yeah, yeah. I think there's things. I just think like a lot of ideas that could be logistically hard to do.
Yeah. But coaches and cardo sounds like a good idea to me.
Yeah. You got anything else? Hold on one second. I got somebody at the delivery coming, so hold on one second.
Yep. Yep.
All right. Sorry about that. I had a delivery pop in. I had to get my UPS shit. So, anyways, is there anything else that we didn't cover, like that important that you wanted to say? Like, could be about the organization, particular thing about the track. I don't know, anything really that you think that we didn't cover that you wanted to speak on?
Basically, a lot of people get intimidated to come out to the track. It's not as intimidating as you think it is. It's a lot of fun. I think that it's great to get more people at the track, and if they could, see that it's not this big, intimidating, crazy thing. It'd be great for all riders. I think even for people on the street who are looking to improve riding, coming to the track's a great way to do it. You're going to learn how to handle that bike at way higher speeds that you're ever going to do on the road, or at least you shouldn't be doing on the road.
Yeah.
And you're going to understand how that bike works and how it's going to react and whatnot. I stopped riding on the street, to be honest with you, because
Me too, man.
there's just too many distractions. There's too many people being distracted by their cell phones or whatnot. And at the track, some people think it's super dangerous. Yeah, there is an inherent risk with riding a motorcycle at speed, but you don't have trees jumping out in front of you. You don't have somebody pulling out on the street and right in front of you, and you're going to cream them. It's a safe environment. You're wearing a suit, airbag suits on top of that. It's a really cool experience. I wish more people got out and did it, and I think a lot of people should. A lot of people think there's this huge cost with it, and it can be very expensive. I mean, I've spent tons of money on the track, but you don't have to. I mean, you can go out with a bike that you could pick an SV650 up for $3,000, that's fully track outfitted and ride it on DOTs, or you can go and, there's people who spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it's not this super expensive thing. It's a lot of fun, and I wish more people would come out and try it and, get more involved in it. It'd be good for the motorsport itself in general.
For sure. Yeah, it's definitely, like you said, it's more accessible than you think. It just depends on how you attack it. You know what I mean? You could go so many different ways, but yeah, the entry point can be very low if you want it to be.
Yeah. There's plenty of people who have extra suits or boots and stuff like that, and in novice, you don't have to have all that you don't have to have everything safety wired and all this other nonsense. You don't have to have slicks. You can come in with a 2-piece suit. Obviously meet the tech specs that you're supposed to do, but it's you can. I mean, we have guys who ride to the track on their bike and they leave on the same bike they rode there on. I mean,
which is crazy to me because I'm so worn out. There's freaking no way, dude. No.
Some of these people ride like hours and hours.
I know. And the risk too of crashing and then like, well, I just can't get home. There's no way I could do it. But man, kudos to them, right?
Yeah, but they'll show up, they'll ride on the same tires. I mean, you don't have to have fancy tires. I mean, there's plenty of people like you were saying before that you can go into A group on street tires
for sure.
Now you might not do every single lap at pace on those street tires, but it's not as intimidating. It'd be great to get more people out and doing it, and we do a good job of making it very welcome for people and working with them on that. So.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I just thought of another question that I wish I would have asked everybody. Like, what are you looking forward to for this coming season? Is there anything particular that you plan on working on yourself-wise? Is there any particular things you're trying to improve on? It could be bike setup, a particular corner, whatever it is.
Becoming more consistent. I mean, that's.
Well, how can you become more? That's ridiculous. Screw that.
I feel there's always room for improvement in it. I would like to, so like I got put into the expert group pretty quick in racing. And I think that's a lot to do with like the Twins Cup when I got in and I raced, if you had a 660, like you kind of won.
Yeah, it was.
And then I got into the expert group, and when I went out first, I was happy just to be able to keep up with the guys in the expert group. And at other tracks, I can usually hang mid pack. I'd like to see myself up closer towards the top as long as there's no MA guys out there. But working on that, and learning actually more bike setup and how to change the bike to, get rid of some, the stuff where I said, you were saying before, like I'd ride something that was completely out of whack. Well, a lot of that comes from me not understanding fully what does what on the bike. Yeah. Like what is preload doing? If I put too much preload in, what do I have to balance on the other end? The dampening,
learning what the feeling relates to as far as what you can change to, for that feeling. Like, I'm feeling this on the bike. Okay, so that means I should look at this particular thing. Or these two particular things, do one at a time. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. There's certain like little nuances with bikes, like just like changing your gearing and how it might seem like a little bit, but you put a bigger gear in the back, and correct me if I'm wrong, a larger gear in the back is going to make your bike a fuzz longer with the distance between your front and rear wheel. Just like
a bigger sprocket in the back is going to pull the wheel in, so it's going to be a shorter wheelbase.
See, something I need to learn here. But the difference between a short and a longer wheelbase affects how the bike handles. A bike that's shorter, I'm assuming is going to be a lot more nimble going into turns, but you're going to lose stability coming out. Correct?
It can make the bike. It can do a couple different things, but yeah, I mean, because essentially what you're doing is when you pull that wheel, I'm not an expert by any means, but I've read quite a bit, and I know, I can enough to mess myself up. Let's just say that. But when you pull the wheel in, and when you are shortening the wheelbase, the bike is less stable, on pretty much everywhere. It's just twitchier, especially like being on the gas. That's like most leader bikes. If you measure the wheelbase, it's far longer than a 600. The swing arms also generally look a little bit flatter. And when you pull the wheel in, it's also going to change the kind of mess a little bit with the swing arm angle. It's going to increase it, which is, anti-squat, because pulling the swing arm down. which I should be like this. It'll pull the swing arm down more, if I'm correct, which means ideally there's like a range, and it's not every bike's exactly the same, but there's a pretty close proximity of ranges. When you're on the gas, you want that swing arm when it's fully squatted to be almost flat but not flat. You want kind of below. When you go flat or over, you call that like positive squat or whatever, and it'll actually make the tire spin up. But if you don't have, if you have too much anti-squat, it can do the same thing, right? It's not getting enough mechanical grip, and it'll make the tire spin up. So there's kind of like a sweet spot. So yeah, changing that is going to change geometry and wheelbase. Like those little things actually like do a pretty large effect. Now for someone who is not up to speed yet, will it make a huge difference? I don't know if people really notice, because for me as well, and I know you too, you're kind of just discussing that. You really don't know what the feeling is of what's doing what. You're just kind of out there focusing on like other things and like what the bike is doing underneath you and how it feels. It's like, it's hard to like understand. It's almost like you're trying to read Spanish, and you don't really know it, but like you take Spanish 1 and now you're like, okay, I kind of understand this a little bit. And the more you ride and the faster you get and understand those things and like then understand what those changes do, then you're way more informed of like making the bike work more. And as you know, the faster you get, the worse the bike feels. You leave the settings the same, you get faster, it just seems like, well, what's wrong with the bike now? Well, you're doing things over the capabilities of like what the settings you were running that felt good, they no longer are good anymore. It just doesn't work. So you have to you could have to go up a spring rate or increase dampening here or there, or change swing arm angle or whatever it is. Like there's just so many different factors, and like everything you change.
Tire pressure is a huge thing.
Oh, for sure.
It could be cold in the morning, and by the end of the afternoon it's 80 or 90 degrees, and just that tire pressure change, a couple PSI will change how that bike runs.
Yeah.
Like even learning the difference between tire manufacturers, like Pirellis are super soft and squishy, and you go to Dunlops and they're hard as a rock. From my experience, I mean, it makes the bike completely ride different. Yeah. So like those are the things that like I want to learn more of and be able to help people, like coaching wise, be like, hey, maybe you should try this. This worked for me in this.
Yeah, and it's especially if they're on the same bike, right? I mean, that helps out a lot. But there's it's crazy. There's a series. It's really, really old. Traction Dynamics had it up. This is, man, it's got to be like 2002 or something. It's like it's a series of videos that's on YouTube, and I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called now. But it's great. It's overwhelming. It's wild. They go over geometry, rake, trail, exactly what we talked about, sprockets and how they affect that stuff, wheelbase, dampening, preload, all that stuff. And it's so wild of like, you make one little change in the back, the front gets an effect from it. And if you make one change in the front, the rear gets an effect from it. And it's generally like, let's say you make some kind of geometry change in the back. It's like, I think they said like a 10-1. So it's a factor of change of 10 in the rear, but it still changes, but it's only a factor of 1 in the front, and vice versa. If you change something in the front, it's a factor of 10 for the change versus a factor of 1 for the rear. Just by changing the front, you will change the rear, but only by a factor of 1. So it's a very delicate like balance. And like, I mean, obviously you watch Moto America, MotoGP, World Superbike. I mean, they are changing stuff every session.
Yep.
Every
they
day.
Team there for every individual part of how that all works, and the telemetry and all that stuff.
The morning it's this setup. Well, now we got more heat on the track, so like it's completely changing, and by tire compound, then they're changing suspension for that. So like it can get extremely overwhelming and in depth, and like it gets kind of wild. And like the more I look into it, the more I get confused. But I have this fascination with like motorcycle geometry and suspension stuff that like I want to learn. It's just so confusing. And like, like I said, I know enough to get myself in trouble. But like, the basic baseline stuff of like, well, let's just get the setting the sag to get the bike within that stroke that needs to be. And then, getting the damper set pretty close. I mean, at least it gives you a somewhat starting point. Every bike's different as far as geometry and what it likes and this and that. And then that also has to do with the rider, because the rider wants something tailored for them. You ride your bike differently than me, so our setups aren't, even if we had the same exact equipment, they're not going to be the same. Like, I may like this particular thing and you don't. We may not know that exactly what it is, but we know, like, when you ride my bike, you don't like it. And I ride yours. Not necessarily I don't like it. It's just different from mine. And it doesn't feel as good to me. So, but yeah, it is. I think, go ahead.
A lot of people have like their opinions on Dave Moss and whatnot, but I think Dave Moss gives a good thing where he shows you how to set your bike up for you. Setting, just basic stuff like going on there, making sure the levers are in the right position. So when you're reaching for the brake, you're actually like pulling your wrist back and giving yourself more throttle. Like there's just so many little nuances that like he does a good job of giving some basic stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's his customer base, right? I mean, the people that complain about him are like, he only does stuff to like save the tire. Well, I mean, he uses reading the tire to see what is going on with the suspension and stuff. Also, tire pressure or whatever. But like, could he be in a race team and help out? Yeah, but that's another knowledge base. The people he's like helping, and most of his client base that you can go on and pay for a subscription or get a baseline suspension tune from him or do video chat to help that stuff. It's people, street guys or people that do track days or even novice, or like club racers. This isn't Moto America. He's not competing with that, nor is he trying. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is, hey, we're going to give you something. Here's a plan. Try these settings and through the day progress. If you've used them, have you used them before, right?
I use a little bit of this stuff.
Have you ever paid for him to give you like?
I paid. Well, I paid for whatever the yearly subscription to.
But you never like paid for like a suspension tune from him. So like he'll send you like, okay, you just tell him like what your bike is, gear, what components you have on it, even if it makes more power, whatever it is, your weight, gear, what type of riding you do, what type of tires you're on. It's a very detailed thing. Like he even had me take pictures of where the axle's sitting, so he knows. Okay, now I know the wheelbase because I know he's running these sprockets, and I can see where the axle sits, so I know the geometry of the bike, and then gives you a setup to run and go. Okay, go out, try this at 50% for 2 sessions. The third session, I want you to change this and this and go up to 80%. Try that. Is it better or worse? If you need more, here's a third thing to try, and it's a progression throughout the day. And he basically gives you a little roadmap, and it's like, for me, it's very good as a start point. And I've learned from that to be able to kind of do it myself a little bit now. But when I didn't know shit, it's hard to like just go, well, where do I start from? We lost Chris. But yeah, like where to start from. But after that, it's you learn a little bit more about the feeling, and then once you learn a little bit more about it, talk to somebody who kind of knows, you can kind of gauge what you need to do, and then find out, add one click here and go try it. You don't change many things at once. But then we got into stuff before. It's getting a little off topic at this point. We'll wait for a minute, see if Chris comes back, and if he does not, then we'll just shut her down, call it a day. I don't know if he's coming back. So, all right, well, we'll just wrap up there. I thank Chris for, popping in and joining us. Unfortunate we lost him, but we're already at like an hour and 18 minutes anyways, so good conversation. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Sorry for the interruption for the UPS guy. I don't edit these videos, so that's not getting cut out. But yeah, we'll look forward to see you guys at the track. Look up Chris. He usually does pit with me, and he's on the Ducati or 660, and yeah, we'll make it happen. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll talk to you later.